Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Calling in Your Luminous Ancestors, how an ancestral ritual can help you access guidance, blessings, and empowerment. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really blessed to be with you here because I think we're going to be going on a really important, evocative journey into a depth of understanding our ancestry that is wider and deeper than I think most of us have probably ever experienced. We're going to get to do so with someone who's really breaking new ground in really interesting ways. Her name is Taya Mâ Shere. She's a ritualist of rewilding, great title, a chant artist and founder of From the Deep. So, Taya, welcome to today's program.
I'm delighted to be here with you, Stephen, and all who are tuning in. Thank you so much.
I also want to let everyone know that right up front that we're going to have a brand new program with Taya, and it's going to dive deeper into what we experienced today. It's called Working with Your Luminous Ancestors, and we'll share more about that towards the end of the hour. Well, I normally ask first about the personal story, but I know you're really big on ritual and particularly with song as well. So why don't we actually invoke some sacred space today by having you start with that?
Yes, please. I'll invite everyone to tune in whatever way is most right for you. Luminous ancestors of earth, sea, and sky, may we root, may we flow, and may we fly. May we tend, may we ripple, may we soar, may we be blessed by you who come before. Luminous ancestors of earth, sea, and sky, may we root, may we flow, and may we fly. May we tend, may we ripple, may we soar, may we be blessed by you who come before. With such great gratitude for the immense miracle of these bodies, this breath, and this life, with such great respect for the first peoples of the places where we each are, with such great appreciation to our more than human kin and the elements that we are of, and with such gratitude to our luminous ancestors of myriad kinds, the radiant ones who dreamed us into being and who guide, support, and bless us in so many ways. Thank you for your presence with us in our lives and in this moment.
Well, thank you. What a beautiful poetic way to begin, and so much of the essence of the message of today distilled in that very powerful song and prayer to sort of tap into this deeper stream that you're helping to bring into reality, this sort of wide, luminous ancestry that we each have. So let's start with a little bit of your journey into like how did this begin to come alive for you, this sense of a wider, deeper, luminous ancestry?
I love this question. The first conversation I had with my ancient grandmothers was over 25 years ago. I was deep in the wilderness for the very first time, and there was something I needed to do that I could not figure out how to do. And I tried to wrap my mind around it, and I couldn't figure it out. And a question arose in me. What did the ancient women I come from do? The question surprised me, and I imagined that it was rhetorical, yet almost instantly a response came clear. I heard it, I saw it, I felt it, and I knew it to be true. And I understood in that moment how the ancient ones that I come from tended in that particular situation. I saw them and I felt their guidance and I followed what felt like instruction for me. And in that moment, Stephen, my life changed. I came to know myself as inside of a wider web of connection and support that included the elements, the earth, the moon, the sea, and it included the ancient ancestors who have been loving me up since before I existed. And feeling that connection with them, feeling their love, feeling their guidance, feeling their presence changed everything for me. I began to listen with different years, I began to prioritize deeper ways of knowing in my life. I lived more in tune with rhythms and I kept listening for their guidance. And what I found was that in pivotal moments, they had direction for me. And over the years, this came to be in so many ways. They guided me on my path, in my way, in my own healing, and in my work. They really awoke in me a call to shift intergenerational and cultural patterns of hypervigilance, of being stuck in survival mode, and to thrive. And toward that end, I trained as a practitioner of somatic experiencing, a body awareness based trauma healing modality, with a particular intention to activate that work in my life and in my communities to heal collective PTSD. They, the ancient ones, brought me to the spiritual lineage of my people. They invited me to heal at the root of those traditions. And in that way, I steeped deeply in the traditions of my people and came to serve as clergy and to co-found the Hebrew priestess movement devoted to reclaiming and innovating embodied earth honoring models of spiritual leadership, particularly in a goddess-centric or feminist Jewish context. And they guided me also to connect with loving and wise ancestors. I trained in and then taught ancestral lineage healing as a way of supporting folks to find access to greater resource in their lineages. And all of those ways were deeply meaningful for me on my journey. They shaped me as I also shaped them. And yet I came a few years ago to a point where everything I had devoted to felt so deeply meaningful, and I was needing something deeper, something yet more ancient, yet more true for me. I found in my own life, as deep dismantles happened, and in the world, moments of despair and also points of transformation came, I found myself leaning into what I knew and not finding it to be as sufficient and as exciting and as relevant as it had been. Much power to those ways of working. And yet I found myself needing to return yet more deeply to the elemental kin, to the more than human world, to the creature teachers, and working with elements as my ancestors. And I found in my own life and applying these in my practice and bringing that to the students and clients and folks that I supported, something greater than what I had imagined was possible and is possible. Really experiencing a web of deep, immense support and nourishment that can repattern, can invite a paradigm shift and open possibility for pathways of joy and wholeness and ease that for me are both astounding and also home zone. It's like magic and really simple ground, both simultaneously.
What an amazing journey, and the way you articulate it is a powerful transmission in itself. I want to ask first about the ancestral humans, like, because I think that's interesting, this sort of this web work model, and the sense of like it doesn't really take that many generations back before we start having a million ancestors. It's, I don't know, 20 or 30 or something like that. And so how important is it to have like a particular sense of specific ancestors, or is it sort of you almost end up with this chorus of voices, this web work that you're connecting to this wider field of experience of thousands and eventually millions of lives that you can tap that wisdom, but it's not as much like an individualized, oh, here is my great 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 grandmother and what she has to share.
It's a wonderful question. There can be so many gifts in rooting in ancestral guides from specific lineages, and we who tend to ancestral realms often understand connecting with particular guides more as them being the face of the lineage rather than actually an expression of an individual themselves. And I, these days, widen it a bit. So when I'm excited about ancestral connection, particularly with the ancient ones, I'm excited about a spiralizing of lineage. And I'll share what that means in a moment. But before I go there, I want to say for folks who are only now even considering that it's possible to connect with ancient ancestors. For many folks, we've been conditioned to think what exists in the now is all that actually exists. And I'd like to invite that ancestors also exist in the now. I often call it the ancestral now, that the ones who were and the ones who are and the ones who will be, we're all on a spectrum of time. And also, it's possible to slip into a consciousness where those who are not in body are still available and present. And many of us, when we attune in these ways, find that more and more and find ways of being in communication with ones from the ancestral realms. And I'll also add that many times when folks think of their ancestors, they think of only the ones that they know, excuse me, only the ones that they knew or that they heard stories of. And sometimes folks who don't have a lot of stories or who have really painful history feel like I can't do this work. And in fact, that's not at all the case. Sometimes there's even more possibility if we're not stuck in the stories of how things were or what we've heard. But when we open to what actually is right now, there can be so much beauty available. And to return more directly to your question, yes, we each have a vast array of human lineage ancestors that we are direct descendants of. And if we go back far enough, there is often an exquisiteness of consciousness. The ones that I consider the luminous ones or the radiant ones, ones who are kind of before the stuck points, before the fragmentation on the lineage, before the pockets of intergenerational trauma have gotten anchored. And so in the invitation that I like to offer, it's actually one of tuning into those ancestors, not in any way to disrespect or disregard ones of more recent history, but simply to let ourselves be in the deeper embrace. Sometimes in the more recent ones, we can find a lot of trauma or a lot of trouble, and we can access something far beyond that, not as a bypassing of that trouble, but as an invitation to lean in to the sweetness, the richness, and the blessing of what has come far, far, far before. I'll share one story on this, if I may. A few years ago, 2019, so 5 years ago, I had the honor and gift and challenge of guiding week-long ceremony in Auschwitz-Birkenau, a bearing witness ceremony. And as folks know, there's such intensity, kind of beyond a magnitude of which we can imagine, intensity of trauma in that place and in any place of atrocity. And even considering doing ancestral work in that place, for me, was both terrifying and also I was so clearly called there. And in that environment, the only thing possible to do and to remain whole is to tune in to the positive resource available, to tune in to all the blessings we have access to in our own bodies and our own lives and in our lineages, far, 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 far beyond the places of pain. And so in that space, in that ceremony, the way I knew to be was to beautify and beautify and beautify in a place of such immense pain and fragment, not to detract from that grief and tragedy, but to let blessing have portals to pour through. And this is an extreme example, yet in all of the ancestral work that I'm drawn to, and particularly in this work around elemental kin and luminous ancestors of earth, sea, and sky, we give particular attention to what could be called the beauty ways, to senses, to pathways of connection in this earthly realm that bring pleasure, that bring joy, that are awakening to vitality, and letting the sensory be a pathway of tending the luminous ancestors is one that I find to be deeply nourishing and supportive to connection between the realms.
Really very, very beautifully shared. And it kind of, I can see the influence of somatic experiencing too, where you're sort of building this sense of resourcing with the sort of the positive, uplifting, higher qualities that then allow you to be with the places of trauma or brokenness or a challenge as well. So maybe talk a little bit about how, as you do that resourcing, connecting with the beauty way, that gives you a different ground to then digest, metabolize, or heal some of the intergenerational trauma as well.
What you're saying is so right on. And many folks who are new to the work imagine that trauma heals by focusing on the places of trauma. Makes sense as one way. Well, actually, what has been found is that trauma, whether in the body, the energy body, the community body, the ancestral body, that trauma heals not by focusing first on the places of fragment or distress or what's broken in the system, but rather trauma heals by focusing on the places that are most well, that have most vitality, that have deep roots and resource, and building our capacity to hold attention on what is most well allows those places of positive resource to inform the places of trauma, to re-entrain the pockets of fragment so that they have a model for greater wholeness. This can be counterintuitive at first. When I first encountered this work and started training in it, again, over 20 years ago now, there was an invitation to give 80% of attention to positive resource and 20% to the places of distress. And I couldn't imagine that would be possible in my own body. I was like, maybe 50-50. And yet, what I found and what I find continually as I integrate this work in community and in courses and with folks that I work with directly is that when we build attention on positive resource in our bodies, in our minds, in our relationships, in our world, something is possible greater than what we have imagined. This is true also in the ancestral realms, and I like to level it up, or rather root it more deep, which is to not only have it be like, okay, what is well resourced here, but rather like what is the best possible thing we could imagine? What is even greater than my wildest dream? Because from where I sit, each of us is only here as an expression of the most magnificent dreams of our ancestors. And so let us dream big and let us attune not only to places of well resource, but of real deliciousness, finding what brings us true delight, what brings us alive. And it may not be simple to find at first. Maybe we have a sliver of a noticing of, oh, this feels good to me, or I like this scent, or I love this food. Let me see if my ancestors also like it. We might start simple. And the more we turn our attention again and again and again, retraining ourselves toward the possibility of, you could call it magic, you could call it vitality, you could call it immense joy, being curious about what the best possible thing is for us in our lives or for the world or in any given moment, asking the question invites something to come into being beyond what we might have imagined possible. And so I return to that question again and again, and I invite folks to attune to positive resource. And more than trying to do it on a cognitive level, I like to just dive into it. That's why I love to be in play and song. Like, let's just have a feeling of what is it like to feel joyous in our bodies in this moment. Maybe this transformative practice can be really fun. Maybe there can be ease here. And this isn't to bypass true struggle or places of pain. It's not to ignore those things or to invalidate them, but to be curious about what also exists, what can simultaneously exist to the challenges, and letting that goodness become bigger and bigger and bigger until it encompasses the challenging strands rather than just being side by side. It can be a container inside of which we pour the energy of our lives.
I love that. It's so really poetically shared. And I love seeing ourselves as the expression of the boldest, brightest dreams of our ancestors too, that that bigness is part of the fulfillment of what our ancestors have dreamed into being through us. So really beautiful. I want to sort of bring the elementals back in, since I think the addition of that is seems very central to your work, and so that we see this ancestry not just through a kind of a human lens, but a sort of a almost like a Gaia-centric lens. And so maybe share, how does that actually, how do you start to resource in that same way from the elemental kin?
I love this question. The first way we can tune in is to notice what is in our bodies. We are of water, we are of earth, we are of sky. In this moment, as we each sit here, water is flowing through us. Fluid makes up the majority of our bodies. We can envision and access earth in our bones, in our flesh. We are animated by breath that is connected to air and sky. We are of the elements, and we also are resourced by them. And many of us tend to bring ourselves to the elements for resource or healing. It might be that we turn to a bath or to immersing in wild waters for healing. Yes, that's a sacred practice. Yes, putting our hands on the earth for healing is a sacred practice. And we can make it more relational, where we're not only drawing healing from the waters or from the earth, but actually acknowledging that we are of water, we are of the earth, and we are bringing the earth of our bodies to the earth of the earth. We are bringing the water of our bodies to the bigger, wider waters, and inviting relationship, connection, and being in reciprocity. And so for me, in the practice of connecting with our elemental kin and our elemental ancestors, it's one that is primarily relational, where we're understanding that we are of these energies, and we are changed by them, we are shaped by them, and by turning honor, attention, curiosity, and connective intention to them, we also become a gift to those elements. And I'll bring it down maybe a bit more practically, which is in our lives, we can make ritual, which may sound like a grand thing for folks new to ritual, but ritual can be really simple. It can be as simple as placing a bowl of water or smelling a pleasing scent with a particular intention for connection. We can make ritual that weaves these elements that we are of more consciously into our daily lives. And in my practice and in my way of connecting with the elemental kin that we are of, we are building relationship with these energies and inviting direct support, blessing, and nourishment from them. We're entering into conversation with them in sacred ways. We're being curious about how we can deepen that connection and understand the elements truly as our ancestors, as ones who have shaped, currently shape, continue to shape us. And for me, this is really important, particularly as you name, Stephen, in this context where many of us have been entrained to be incredibly human centric and to not have the wider, more peripheral, kind of deeper back body awareness of interdependence, and that actually this web of life that holds us is at the core of the support available and the connection available to us. And I find in working with elemental kin, a level of connection, a level of possibility that goes deeper than what I have imagined. As I mentioned, as we were opening our conversation, in recent years, when I hit some really rough pockets, when what I thought I knew felt like the ground was kind of faded out from under me, I was trying to create in the way I knew to create, and I was like, what I know isn't working anymore. What is there to be up to? And when I slowed, when I listened more deeply, what I found was that there's a lot of fragmentation still in the human field, a lot of amazing potential for transformation and still challenge. And when I let myself be in the deeper connection with the elements, something emerged as true that was just like at the core of it all. And it's such a gift to keep peeling back the layers. I'll add one more strand here that I haven't spoken to, which is the blessing of creature kin, creature teachers, elemental kin who are of plants or of animal realms, the way that we have evolved in dynamic relationship with many creatures, many plants. And my guess is that the animals that I am most of may be really different, Stephen, or those of you who are tuning in, from the animals that you feel most alive and true in your body. How I move tends to have certain ways. How you move or what resonances hold true for you may be different. And I invite us to tune in to those energies and be curious about our creature kin and the messages, wisdom, and blessing they hold for us. And these practices are ones of listening below the linear, listening below logic. So many of us have been entrained to let logic or linearity lead. And when we are open to slipping below the knowledge of the mind, we can lean in to direct knowing. We can lean into perceiving and trusting our capacity to know, to feel, to hear, to see. Each of us, it appears in a different way. I don't presume that my ways of knowing or perceiving are the same as yours, but when we let ourselves listen more deeply, we can grow our capacity to tune in, to be in communication with, to receive messages from the realms beyond that include, yes, the best and brightest, the most radiant of our human lineage ancestors, and also the luminous ones of the elements, of the creatures, of the plant realms, and to be curious about and tune into receiving the goodness that they have available for us.
Really fascinating insights and very powerful perspective you have. And I want to invite now, since you are all about ritual and magic and entering into this realm more directly with experience, let's take some time now to create an experience where people can taste and feel and activate the same qualities in their life.
Yes, please. I'd love to invite you and all who are tuning in to come into a place of presence in your body. And as you do, I invite you to call to heart or mind one thing that has gone well today. One thing that was like, yeah, this is a gift in my day. This is a blessing in my day. One thing that has gone well already. Calling that to mind or heart and noticing what you feel in your body. Just when you call that to mind, or as you've been listening here for this time we've been in conversation, just noticing what is in your body. And if you're able to bring your attention to a place of ease or connection, something that feels well enough inside of you. In a moment, we're going to turn toward the ancestral now. As we ready for that turning, I offer a question into the field. And just letting yourself steep in it in whatever way is right for you, or letting yourself ask this question along with me. What is the best thing that could happen? What is the best possible thing? What is the best thing that could happen? What is the best possible thing? With that curiosity in heart or in mind, envisioning, perhaps drawing in your mind's eye or drawing on your heart or on your belly, just in your field of vision, drawing a circle slowly and letting that expand, drawing a wider circle around it, and another wider circle until these circles become a spiral, a multi-dimensional movement. And as you're envisioning or drawing this spiral, you may see it extending back and forward in time, or you may see it widening, expanding to encompass you at the center of your spiral. Letting yourself be at the center of your ancestral spiral. And from this place, inviting connection with the luminous ones who dreamed you into being. Inviting connection with the luminous ones who dreamed you into being. And for you, this might be the ones of water, or the ones of earth, or the ones of sky. It might be the creature teachers or the plant cessors. It might be your human kin. Inviting connection with the luminous ones who dreamed you into being. And being open to what comes. Not presuming you know, but just being curious. Maybe you feel a sliver of energy, or see a little bit of a shining light, or maybe something appears to you in very clear form, or you hear words. There's no right way. Letting yourself be loved up by the luminous ones who dreamed you into being. Slowing perhaps your breath, settling even more in your body to make space for these ones, these radiant ones who hold blessing for you. Letting that energy of luminosity and blessing be in your awareness, in your field. There's no right way here. If it takes plenty of time, that's fine. Maybe you have a knowing right away. Being curious about the blessing of the luminous ones who dreamed you into being. What energy do they hold for you? And if you have a sense of support or ancestral blessing here with you, staying with that. And if you haven't yet found it, you can keep inviting it, or you can tune in to yourself and sit with this question. What would be the best possible thing for me in relation to the luminous ancestors? What do I most want to feel? What would be the most amazing ancestral blessing? Whether you're asking yourself this question, or asking it of the luminous ones, or inviting connection and blessing with the luminous ones, just letting yourself be in this field. I'm going to go quiet for a minute to give you space to explore, and I'll come back in with song as a way to land. What is the best thing that could happen? What is the best possible thing? What is the best thing that could happen? What is the best possible thing? Whether you feel the palpable presence of the luminous ones with you, or whether you're offering your yearn to connect with them, just giving thanks for the miracle of your life, giving thanks for the myriad, millions of things that needed to go right for you to be here, alive in this place and time. Perhaps along with this gratitude, rippling in intention, if it feels true, to welcome continued connection with them, the most luminous and radiant supports available to help you remember and root in your radiant belonging. What is the best thing that could happen? What is the best possible thing? What is the best thing that could happen? What is the best possible thing? Gently returning your awareness to your body, perhaps swaying or moving your fingers and toes. If your eyes have been closed, letting light gently drop into them, orienting to the space where you are, perhaps noticing a color or a texture as you bring your awareness to this place and time again more fully. Finding yourself here in the support, in the surrounding blessing of your luminous ancestors of earth, sea, and sky, and of myriad kinds, and letting that question be live on your heart. What is the best possible thing that could happen?
Mm. I love that. Well, what a beautiful invocation. And it was interesting. I loved having the little ripples of thunder in the background too. It was like I was kind of getting this visualization of just kind of like it's almost like parting parting the energies that have been stuck and just like and opening to this kind of bigger rumble or roar of the soul coming forth. It was really quite perfect timing.
I'm so moved, Stephen, as you speak to the thunder and then speak to the perfect timing, because the most ancient sacred poetry that speaks to me is called The Thunder Perfect Mind, and it's a text that I turn to again and again from the Nag Hammadi, and
Oh,
it's like
wow.
the ancient poetess brings this kind of cosmic blessing forth. So you calling in and listening to the thunder and the perfection, it just feels like,
Yeah.
for me, that is a blessing of the luminous ancestors coming through your voice and through the sound of the sky. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I was really tuning in with myself around some of I have a lot of Irish ancestry, and so my people like this sort of the joyful poetic expression, and it's part of what I'm a word person, and I've done it more with writing, but like letting it more of the joyful, playful bard kind of energy come through is like I was appreciate how you were just sharing it. So that's part of your reclamation of the your lineage and the priestessing, the kind of the goddess centric priestessing quality coming forth too. That's beautiful.
Yes, thank you so much.
Cool. Well, I love your perspective and how you've sort of woven these different threads into a path of transformation, reclamation of the ancestral now. And maybe share. It'd be great to just share. I think you're just sort of quite a storyteller. Just share a few stories of how that's looked in people's lives as this reclamation of the wider, deeper web of ancestral magic kind of comes forth with people.
Thank you for this question. Two particular stories come to mind, one in connection with humankin and one in connection with the elementals. I'm calling to mind in this moment someone that I've worked deeply with for a number of years who yearned to feel connection with and a sense of wholeness with his ancestors, but who had no clear sense of how to feel that, how to activate that belonging. And through tuning in to the luminous ones on his human ancestral lineage, he was deeply surprised to find an ancient grandfather who wandered through the forest playing the flute. And this grandfather came to him so clearly with the invitation, with the ask, with the instruction to pick up the flute and go to the forest. And this was so far outside the realm of what this person had ever imagined doing. He wasn't a flute player or a musician, he hadn't explored that before. And his yearn to connect with the blessing of his ancestors was really strong. And so he did. In the weeks and months to follow, he got in the initial weeks, he got himself a flute. He went to the forest. He had no idea what he was doing, but he began to play the flute in the forest. And he went again and again to the forest. He played the flute, and what he found was a portal opened for him of ancestral blessing. Particularly, the connection felt palpable when wandering in the forest and playing the flute, and the connection carried over to the daily moments, to the moments of what am I doing with my life, or how do I get through this experience? The connection carried over because that conversation had been activated, that relationship had been tended and nourished, and that connection came to be one that was of primary importance in his life, was as palpable as his connections with the living humans that he encountered on the daily. And still, each time I talk with him, he tells me stories of this. He actually sent me a year ago an album he had recorded. It didn't get publicly released, but he recorded an album of flute songs for his ancestors. And it was so beautiful to hear that creativity. I'll share also a different kind of a story of folks connecting with more than human kin. And this is from this past year, someone that I work with in the intensity that has been since October didn't know what to do with the immensity of their grief over war, over devastation among the regions that they called familial home. They yearned to connect with their ancestors as they had in the past. Their ancestors, meaning their human lineage ancestors. They had worked with me for a lot of years connecting with human lineage guides. And they found that in this time, the field was too fraught, too fragmented, too tender with ancient or long ago trauma, intergenerational trauma becoming active in the time of intensity that exists in the world today. And they didn't know what to do. And when we listened, we found that the water held blessing for them. And so they brought themselves to the elements, to the ancestral elements. And first they brought themselves there in their mind's eye journeying, in their deep interior journey, and heard the healing would come from tending and being tended by the waters. And these were waters of healing, waters of grief, tears, giving themselves over to crying the tears they needed to cry, making ritual daily, either when they're in their bath or when they're drinking water in the morning or at night, holding clear intention to attune to the blessing of the ancestral waters and to let the waters become their guide, become their support, become their sustenance. And tuning in to the blessing of the ancestral waters gave them a deeper, wider sense of home and of wholeness, not in opposition to their human lineage kin, but as something more potent even than a buffer, as a wider container infused with blessing that allowed them to not be in the disruption that they had been experiencing in their human lineages, but rather an energy of softening, of strengthening, of support that ran yet more deep, that let them drop into their back body of presence and slip out of the hypervigilance that had been activated in them and found a way to tune into greater ease. So these are two stories of many in my own life. I find the blessing of this journey kind of on the daily, and I'm excited to get to share about this with you and all who are tuning in.
Wow. Well, those are powerful stories. And I love the image of just playing the flute in the forest and connecting in with this whole ancestral blessing lineage. Very cool and very powerful and very practical too, because in terms of like being able to build the resource to address the areas of wound and challenge, so such power in that. So I'm excited to share more about your upcoming course, which I know is really a unique opportunity to take everything that you've learned and to experience the benefit in our individual lives. So we're very excited that Taya has decided to partner with us on a brand new program, and you have the opportunity to join her in this deeper ancestral journey. So the program is called Working with Your Luminous Ancestors, Ancestral Rituals to Gain Deeper Access to Guidance, Blessings, and Empowerment from Human, Elemental, and Creature Kin. You can find it at the URL ancestralnow.com, ancestralnow.com. It's a 7-week program. It's very experiential. There's no prerequisites. And it really is if you heard a current of possibility, of meaning, a sort of a leaning in that has happened in today's program, you can take it much deeper and make it really real in your life. So, Taya, I'd love for you to share in your own words about your intentions for what people come away from the 7-week journey with you, and then I'll read out the module titles and give a little preview of what's coming in each.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I'm so excited for this course and for the invitation to journey together in the realm of the luminous ancestors of earth, of sea, of sky. And we'll really begin at what is the beginning for me, attuning to a place of positive resource. And we'll learn and build our capacity to entrain to the possibility of wellness beyond what we have imagined. And so we'll lay the foundation for healing, for transformation, and for paradigm shift. And then we'll deepen with the luminous ancestors of myriad kinds. And I'll be guiding practices for folks to explore. And there are so many ways to connect. And so we'll be learning about them together. And folks will be leaving the 7 weeks with practical experiences of being in connection with luminous ancestral blessing and with tools to integrate into their lives for regular practice, regular connection, regular attunement, and really an embodied experience of paradigm shift and immense deep support from the myriad ancestral streams that show up for them in their lives.
Little Thundermine punctuation there behind you. So module 1 is called Attune to Positive Resources Across All Realms for Healing and Blessings.
Yes, this is our opening way in, and we'll be welcomed with sweetness, and we'll be gathering our intentions for the journey. We'll be learning about how healing happens and what it means to root in positive resource in our lives and also in the ancestral realms.
Module 2, Expand Your Constellation of Ancestors for Deeper Layers of Support and Care.
As our journey deepens, we'll be learning what it means to be connecting not only with human lineage ancestors, but ancestors of myriad kinds. We'll learn who they are and how they show up in our lives, and we'll begin to perceive the ones that have particular resonance for us. And we'll also begin to dive in to our ritual practices. Every week on our journey, we'll be engaging ritual practices of each of the 7 primary senses. And so we'll be deepening in the realm of the senses. In our first module, we'll be in the realm of scent. And in this second module, we'll be in the realm of sight, learning to be at home in the dark. You'll see me a little bit now in the dark, more than when our conversation began. And one of the things I love about playing in the dark is that magic and mystery become a bit more available to us. We can perceive with a different kind of consciousness. And in this module 2, we'll begin to explore the rhythms of that way of working.
Module 3, Connecting with Kin of Sea, River, and Rain for Belonging and Purpose.
This, Stephen, is our water week. We'll be attuning to the element of water as our ancestor and creatures of water as ones who hold blessing for us, human lineage ancestors who are affinityed with water. And we'll learn to make both water ritual and ritual of sound as a portal of connecting with ancestral blessing.
Module 4, Tend to Your Ancestral Terrain for Expanded Ancestral Blessings and Gifts.
This is our Earth Week. We'll be welcoming radiant earth ancestors, creature kin of earth, and also learning about ancestors of place and how to be in right relationship and reciprocity with them. This week also will explore rituals of touch and awakening sense of grounding through the sacredness of stones.
Module 5, soar the ancestral skies to access your ancestral gifts.
This is our air and cosmos week. We'll be tuning in to sky, stars, cosmos as ancestral energies. We'll be connecting with creature kin who soar. We'll be listening for ancestors of human lineage who held particular affinity with the energies of air. And we will be attuning to ritual of movement, energies, sense energies of balance and how we inhabit space.
Module 6, tend the ancestral flame to remember your deepest calling and inspiration.
This is our fire week, our week of transformation and creativity. And in this week, in this module, we'll be attuning to ancestors of inspiration, the ones of creativity, of movement lineage, of call, of vocation, of spiritual lineage who hold blessing and inspiration for us. We'll be making ritual of flame, ritual of feast, tending the sense of taste.
Module 7, chronicle the story of your abounding ancestry to activate and embody your blessings.
In this module, we come to completion on our journey. We gather the myriad learnings and blessings that have arisen for us. And we also craft a story of ancestral exuberance, seeding the way for our brightest dreams to come into being. And as we integrate our experiences, we'll be in a ritual of anointing and attuning within.
Well, what a unique and profound journey this is going to be. I feel like you have a very unique way of framing each of these areas and helping us to kind of rewire our assumptions about who we are and how we're connected to the world and what the possibility is for our own ancestral expression of the ancestral dream, as you said. So again, it's all at ancestralnow.com. So it includes not only the 7 90-minute live sessions with Taya, which we just kind of went over. You're also going to be able to ask your questions live and participate in live rituals, which is a particularly powerful way of joining across the wires of the internet to create a real global family and experience that wider web of connections in the program. There's also going to be recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts that help you go back and really study and apply the things that you've learned. Also have weekly exercises for home. There's a Facebook community to support you and deepen your experience, as well as make connections across the world. And on the page, you'll see a number of extra bonuses that are there to enhance your journey. I love this first one, Songs for Ancestral Exuberance. This is a video teaching from Taya and friends. You want to share a little bit more about that video teaching?
I'm so excited for this. This is a prayer performance. It's an immersion with some of the songs that we'll be steeping in our rituals together in the course, so folks can understand a bit more about the context, the backstory, and also come to learn the songs in a more extended way. Because when we're up to these in our course time, they'll be woven in as a part of our ritual. In Songs for Ancestral Exuberance, this offering, it's really a kind of a time to bathe in the sacred sounds for ancestral connection. And I offer it here with amazing song weavers who create music really that is alchemical in ancestral realms. I offer this with an invitation for folks to let this music inhabit them, to really anchor in the intentions of the words as a portal for connection and transformation.
Very cool. Then there's also a second bonus. It's a video dialogue with Taya and Susan Harper called Embodying Our Elemental Kin, Ancestral Teachings with Susan Harper. I'll share a little bit about that.
Yes, I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. Susan Harper is an elder movement teacher, the founder of Continuum Montage, and holds so much wisdom about the ways the elements are our ancestors, the creatures are our kin. And in this conversation, she invites us into embodied practice that is complementary to the practices I'll be guiding, and also which add an additional layer of portals for connection. It's really sweet teaching. She's someone whose work has influenced me greatly.
Cool. Very cool extra bonus. And there's one more special bonus that folks get if you sign up today by midnight. And we like to do this as a way to give you a little extra encouragement to make a decision now. So you get a juicy extra bonus as your gift for signing up right away by midnight Pacific time. This is a video teaching from Taya called Crafting Elemental Altars. You want to share more about that?
Yes, altar craft is such a wonderful way to deepen an ancestral connection and practice. And some folks may be new to altar craft, some folks may have a ton of experience with altar craft. Either way, this video offers possibility, instruction, invitation to listen in to what is right for you in crafting altars. If you've never crafted an altar before, you'll learn simple techniques and ways to do it. If you've crafted altars hundreds of times, you'll receive new inspiration of how to keep your elemental altars fresh and vibrant. And this offering is one that, for me, is like a home zone. I love to tend space itself as an altar. And when we let the spaces that we are supported by in our home life, in the natural world, be ones that we really understand as sacred, they can hold us on a whole next level. And so this teaching is one that is really a foundation to so much of ancestral practice.
Mm. Well, that's a great extra reason to sign up right away. Really cool bonus on crafting elemental altars. So that's available when you sign up by midnight tonight. So we've kept the entire program very accessible. Again, it's all laid out in detail at ancestralnow.com. The investment is just 3 payments of $128, so you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to start September 4th and run Wednesdays at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings and transcripts in the community as well. And I also encourage you to go through the page at Ancestral Now, not only to see the curriculum and the bonuses, but also tune in with the testimonials, because it really gives a sense for the impact. The 2 stories that Taya told us, really powerful stories of transformation. And it's clear from the testimonials that there's far more that of people who have benefited from her work. So she's an empowering, inspiring teacher and guide, and work with her in any capacity because she bridges worlds of seen and unseen, changed my life, facilitates grounded embodied magic. A lot of great testimonials about the magic of working with Taya. So you are in for a treat and in for a journey of opening and resourcing and creative magic if you choose to move forward. Then you can do so at ancestralnow.com, and you'll get that special bonus when you sign up by midnight, which is crafting elemental altars. So Taya, it's been a juicy and magical hour. I love also just having the nature work with us with the thunder magic to punctuate some key things as well. So anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering diving into the full program with you?
Thank you so much, Stephen. I want to emphasize that folks are welcome on this journey, whether you're totally new to ancestor work and to considering any of these topics, or if you've been deeply steeped in working in these ways. We'll be on a spectrum of experience, and there will be goodness no matter where you're at on the spectrum. And I mostly want to invite you, if you're feeling a sense of curiosity and vitality, but not sure if you'll have the skills to connect, let yourself play. So much more is possible than you might imagine when you open to curiosity in these realms. And so I mostly extend just a deep invitation from my heart to join us. I am so excited for the awesome journey that we're going to have, and so delighted that Shift has invited this offering to come into being in this way. And I'd love to close us with a song and a prayer.
Beautiful. Let's do it.
Luminous ancestors of earth, sea, and sky, may we root, may we flow, and may we fly. May we tend, may we ripple, may we soar. May we be blessed by you who come before. May we be blessed by you who come before. With such great gratitude to all that weaves us into the sacredness of this web, with such appreciation for the luminous ones, the radiant ones who have dreamed us into being, that help make possible goodness beyond our brightest and deepest dreams. Thank you. May we be supported in our connection with you. May we open to receive your blessing in the ways that are most needed and nourishing. And may we trust our capacity to be in connection and belonging with you. May it be so.
May it be so. What a blessing this hour's been. Thank you, Taya. And thank you all for joining. And if you would like to go further, it's all at ancestralnow.com. Many blessings.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Such a joy to be here with you and all.